Sequencing emotion in delicate formation. Numerology's wisdom is a language of vibration. Welcome to the Numerology Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a numerologist, psychic medium, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's working with spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, precision and heart always enters the equation. Now, your host of the Numerology Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Numerology Hour on WLTKDB, Let's Talk Radio. And this is the Numerology Hour. I always like to just have fun. We switched the shows today. Sometimes we do things a little bit differently because we always love to support and give cheer to anyone that needs it. And sometimes we switch things around. So today we are doing the slot at this hour, and then it will revert back to this being the normal psychic hour time, and then the numerology hour being at 11 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so if you're all wondering why do we flip it, okay, we're just fun and funky, and it's Mercury in retrograde. And I was on just a couple of minutes ago with Iris for the psychic hour, and it was just super fun. It was super fun. We were talking about all things astrology. So now that we're diving into numerology, because some people ask if I do astrology, and I really don't. I am forever passionate about learning about it because it's about archetypes and so many other things, and transits and projections, just like numerology is. So when I learn about astrology, it helps me to become a more richer numerologist, because that's where my time and energy is. And I just have so much fun with things that help promote me to be better at what I'm at. So I have a lot of bridging interests. I really do. But this is my wheelhouse. So hello. We're going to be doing readings at the end, just like a couple of them. And for the most part, we're going to be talking about numerology. Today we'll be talking about cycles and why they're so important. And if you have questions along the way, this is how you learn. A lot of times it's changing because numerology is becoming more and more out there. A lot of times there isn't enough of a forum to actively talk about numerology. There's a lot of rules out there, and there's a lot of different systems, and there's a lot of definitions. And they are important because it helps you start to prepare and understand, but there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to reading with this modality. Like any modality, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of exceptions to the rules, and there's a lot of new ideas that are just not out there yet because it's still building. And I'm really happy to be a part of things going forward with numerology, where you have astrology, you have all these rich archetypes, but with numerology, the rich archetypes are still developing. And who knows what's going to be considered canon in 10 years. But I do know that, I'm very happy to be a part of creating some of those consistencies with the building archetypes of what the numbers mean. So pop down your questions, pop down your passions with numerology, away we go. So cycles are so important because they indicate the changes that we go through. Now, the life path number, which is known by typically everybody, that signifies how we change and we become into something that is ultimately the truest expression of who we are for the identity that we are taking on within this lifetime. Okay. And so there's changes that happen within the life path, but everything kind of comes back to what that number is. So it's very sometimes wandering, but constants. You'll always get pulled back. You'll always have some interests. You always want to do certain things. With your cycle numbers, they're very influential, but they are changing every year, month, and day. Okay. And they greatly influence how those things occur for us so often, how we meet the energy of the day, the month, the week, etc. So we have yearly cycles, and the world always has yearly cycles. And then we have personal yearly cycles where we each all have different numbers. Within a worldly cycle, that's the entire world, we all share a cycle because we're in the world together. We're on Earth together, and we share the theme of the worldly energy. There's even country cycles. If you can indicate the inception of a country or a business, there are monthly cycles for that entity or that country or that corporation. And that's where you really get into some business numerology, because a country is a government. It is based on laws, and it's based on overall functioning system and economy. So yeah, a lot of times when you're dealing with global numerology, you're going to deal with business numerology a lot. Shocker, but it's true. But when we get into personal numerology, our personal year is influenced by the world year and also our birth date. But it's very easy to find. It's just by taking the world year, and we are in a 7 because 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 equals 7, and then plus whatever your attitude number is. And your attitude number is when you take your month plus your day. Okay, so you take your attitude number and then you add it to the world year. And that is your yearly cycle. Okay. And for that entire year, you will be dealing with a theme of. Okay. Now, you will find yourself like not being able to escape an emotion. You'll find yourself being more, again, it depends on the vibration, but you'll find yourself for that year being more like of a risk taker, more ambitious, or having more health problems, being more motivated, wanting to find love, having a new zest for life, traveling. All those are influenced by your cycle numbers. And so you have the overall theme of the year, but then you also can take your cycle number and then apply it to the month. And from month to month, you have different influences within that year. And then you also break it down to the day too as well. But the day actually has its own kind of natal chart, as they say. The day breaks down into multiple dates besides one number, and you can see your forecasts day by day for the entire week, the month, the year. It's quite incredible. And depending on how dominant certain numbers are within your chart, oh my gosh, some of the results you'll get are cookie cutter. Like if you have a lot of 5s in your chart, and 5s, they have harmonious energy in certain ways, and they have challenging energy in other ways. Just an example. If you have a day with a lot of 2s, because 5 and 2s, they're very opposite with how they deal. If you have a day with a lot of 2s, but you have a lot of 5s within your chart or 5s within your cycle, oh my gosh, I can promise you that that day is going to be, or that month, if it's a predominance of, it's going to be more uncomfortable. And especially if the day's energy is lined up that way for you, you will get into conflicts with people over certain things where you're like, why, it's like, I feel tied down. I feel bogged down. Like I need a vacation. I need freedom. You will feel like things are tugging at you left and right, and you just want to escape. Again, that's within the 5 archetype, but it's going to take what your normal energies are when you have opposite numbers, and you have the abundance of receiving the opposite in your life, and it's going to make you feel agonizing and mixed up and uncomfortable. You can guarantee it. Okay. On the flip side, if you have a lot of 2s, now I don't have a a huge amount of twos, but I have enough where it does create importance because I have a couple important twos, like my destiny number is a two, my life path is a two. So when I meet five energy, sometimes on the flip side, sometimes I feel things are too chaotic and I feel like I don't have enough time. Like I didn't have a moment to find my center. I feel like scattered. I feel like I have too much pressure because five is like go, go, go. And two, you need balance to actually be very effective. So you need a moment to find where you are. So you can go, now I can help you. I feel together. Together, right? If there's too much five, you're going to feel like you don't have all your ducks in a row and it can lead to anxiety and feeling scattered. Um, and then plans will be not the same too as well. So cycles are very, very important to understand because you can actually have so much consistency back in your hands and so much overseen and navigation at your disposal, as opposed to, with life, you go, why the heck is this happening today? This is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You can go, oh, well, because of this, the pizza might not be delivered on time. I'll get a call late. And, you know, those plans with like being secured, they might break. And you can just be like, you know what? We'll do it tomorrow. Or I'll see you next week. Or let me create grace and a threshold for this project, this person, this situation where I know that it needs to be done, but it can be done maybe in a couple of days or next week, and no one pulls their hair out. Okay. So it creates a lot of grace in departments, these predictive timings, these understandings of how we work. Even if you don't do predictive or like cycle numerology and you don't work with that as much, and you're just looking at your main numbers in Western astrology, I deal with core six as the main numbers. So those are things like your name broken down and your birthday broken down into some very fundamental basic equations. Even with those, you're going to understand when you break down your date at the most basic level. If you're planning for something, you go, "Oh, I don't have these numbers in my charts. I don't have these numbers in my personal chart." The energies of the day are not going to be in a way where it's the best and most easy expression of me. And that's where you look for success. And that's where you look for to be comfortable. You want to have ease within your day. You want to have ease within your relationship. Relationships. You want to have ease within your opportunity, like with business, etc. And you create that with understanding these things, and you can do it on a very grand level where, whoa, you are accounting for things, and you are catching balls and fly balls where you're like, I saw that coming, I saw that coming, I saw that coming. Or you just go, okay, yeah, I know it's going to go like that. And it's just like, you don't have to live your life where you're constantly planning things. I like planning, but I'm actually not a crazy, crazy planner. As long as my basic needs are in order and I feel like I have my feet on the ground, and sometimes that does take more planning for me to feel that way than the average person. But as long as I have that in place, I'm kind of just like, let's just see how it goes. So I do a mixture. I plan a lot with numerology, and sometimes I'm just easygoing and I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And I know what to account for if, let's say I didn't ask for a certain date, but I allowed a certain date to come to me instead. Okay. So there's always ways to work with it. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Tina. Hello, Jessie Cat. Okay. So Kevin, we're going to go back into cycles in just a second, but Kevin has an awesome question. He says, I have a question. Does a person's middle name play any functions in numerology? Yes. So within numerology, you need someone's full name to find their destiny and maturity number. And their destiny and maturity number goes with the life path number. It gives you additional information of how you're going to live your life as you come into your gifts, what your personality will be like in order to find those gifts, what obstacles it will surface. It calibrates it further. So, like, your destiny number shows that sometimes up until the age of like 0 to 30 or 40. And then past that, your maturity number kicks in, and it's like around your 30s or 40s until you pass what number that you operate from in conjunction with your life path. Now, you'll always work with kind of both numbers to a certain degree, but you don't really come into the maturity vibration until you mature. Okay. And the only way to get that is if you have your full name, and it's your full name at birth. So you need the middle name. Some people don't have middle names, but you need your full name. And also, when you have the full name, you can also see what energy that person was born into the world with, because all letters are numbers. So every letter, like within a name or in a show title or a business name, it breaks down into vibration. And so it holds and represents certain qualities. And so let's say if you have a lot of B's in your name, okay? Like for instance, Kevin, you have a K and a T in your name, and K's and T's are two vibrational numbers. So is a B. If your entire name, including your middle name, had a lot of two energy, it would influence your personality to be working from a place of sensitivity much more than the average person, to be more of a natural empath, to have more quirky and unique experiences where you just knew something, okay? And you are open to intuition or open to things regarding emotional sensitivity much more than the average person is, because you've had, again, so many experiences. So it could be an intuition thing, but it's always a sensitivity and an emotional understanding and compassion thing. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're like, this is a thing, okay? Because that's the way you operate from. And they are good peacemakers and really kind friends, and they always want to help each other with the people that they love. They always want to help friends and family if they can make them feel better, because they're emotionally more connected to a person than average. So again, your overall name is helpful, and your middle name does come into account. Now, I always say this because it's very important, because there's a lot of mixes up with how people use name energy. The middle name is important if you have it. And it's important in some placements. It's important at some times. But your most important name consideration you'll be looking at within numerology has to be your current name. And it has to be how you introduce yourself within the world. You know, I introduce myself as Kelly or Kelly Brickle. I don't introduce myself as my middle name. I don't. So how I walk the world does not take into account my middle name. How I walk and operate with my energy, I would not be looking for, as a numerologist, my middle name, other than understanding some context of how I came into the world with and what natural energy I have within me, and understanding things from the past and how I got here. Sure, that's all fair game. But if you're looking for how do I function, and how do, what numbers are good for me, and how will I progress and have success, you do that by the name you walk within the world in, and you do it by the name that you feel most comfortable within your skin in. And you have to really be knowing within what that is for yourself. Sometimes you have to do some spiritual work. Like, people call me Kelly, but some people have called me Kel in the past. I don't really go by Kel. I don't have a problem with it, but I would never introduce myself as Kel. But there's some people who take on their nicknames, and whether they believe that to be their identity or not, that's a whole separate thing. And some people would be like, I love my nickname. It makes me feel more like me than my normal name. And they want people to call them by their nickname, and they're unhappy if they don't have the name they prefer. Now, if that's what makes you happy and that's what stirs your energy alive, well, you have to consider that in some way to be part of your numerology because that's part of your identity. It's your true identity and also how you walk within the world. And so some people have multiple identities. And so it can get kind of dicey with the numerology. You really have to pinpoint how a person sees themselves and operates. Okay. So names within numerology, incredibly powerful, incredibly important, but incredibly not well understood or worked with always. Okay. If you have two names that you go by within your life, or you're not using the name that you currently use when you introduce yourself to people, you will have your numerology off a little bit. You will have aspects that make sense because a part of you sees yourself as a certain way, but it won't be the full part of you. It won't be the full cornucopia. It will be just a little bit here, a little bit there. And so accuracy is very important, and you really have to understand who you are on that name level. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, names are fun. We'll do we'll do a whole show on names. I think that's the part where I think again, you have a lot of inconsistency within numerology unless you really pinpoint things. But also, when it comes into teaching and learn about numerology, I think sometimes people can really be intimidated by the name portion because it takes time. It's actually very easy once you get it, but it takes time because you have to learn the alphabet within numbers. Every letter is a vibration. You have to learn about that. Again, it's very simple, but it takes a little bit of time. And then once you kind of know it, you do have to apply it and add and break things down. And it can seem a little tedious. But once you know how to do it, it's okay. So that's where some of the rules come in, right? To make something which way or what. Okay. So oh, since we're on names, Jessica is saying my husband doesn't like his name. LOL. I'm like, why did you pick it? LOL. He wants to change it to just Joe and not Jose. Well, you have to, you know, I love it. You have to make a decision. Yeah, you have to be responsible for your own energy. And if you don't like something within life, change it. Why not? Like, we can be anything we want to be. We have so much freedom of choice within this life that we're often programmed to not enact because we're just like, that's you don't need to do that. But if it makes them happy, why not? I know people who have changed their names legally 3 times because not that they were like running from the law, it's just they would change their name because they're like, okay, well, I actually feel like more like this. And it'd be very close to the original, but they were just tweaking it until it became more them. And they had to kind of sit with it for a little bit. Like, their first name became their last name, and yeah, their last name became their first name, like, for instance, because originally they picked a new last name and they're like, this is so much me that it should be my first name and I want a different surname now. And that happens. That happens. And then there's some people who, because it is so powerful, they will just start telling people, I go by this now. And then it just is a matter of what next level do they want to take it legally. I think it's so, so important. It's very, again, names are very complicated because if you really feel like that's your new identity, like from, the Joe and not Jose, if you really feel like that, and it makes sense you would pick Joe because Jose is um the the Latin form of Joseph, so it makes sense. But if he really feels like a Joe and he starts introducing himself like that or signing things like that, because he can, um, your vibration will change. You don't get to change your birth date necessarily. You don't. It's probably set in stone. I always feel like there's something that can be like overridden by that. I don't know why I think that. So, but yeah, you can't really change your birth date, okay? But you can change your name. And once you do, your chart changes. Your chart changes. And the way that you react to people as a friend and a husband or wife or business partner will change because you start utilizing different energy. And I see it all the time. I knew it was a thing always, but the more and more I live, I just go, oh yeah, like I already knew it was a thing, but I'm just hit over the head constantly by how much it is real. I've heard multiple people say like, "Oh, you've changed," based on when a husband and wife get married and the wife changes their name, and the couple dynamics change, and it's as simple as a last name change, or it could be simple as a first name change, and they just feel like the other person's different around the time they get their name changed. And if you look at their chart, you can actually pinpoint how, like, they had different motivations or they had different interests start to develop or they communicated differently around that time. And you can actually see how, not just the timeline, but how they started to be more interested in something versus what they used to be. And the couples can find themselves relating more if there's harmonious numbers or relating less if there's more challenge numbers. So it takes a lot of neutrality, but you're going to feel the dynamic change. So, yeah, I would break down um, the numerology on the name, understand how it's different, and pair it with your name and see what you're going to be meeting because it's very, very important. A lot of people don't know how important it is, but it's living, breathing proof. I've seen so many things regarding how impactful it is. Okay. Especially his last name. Well, he needs a you're talking about he wants to change his last name too. He needs a overhaul then. And that's the cool thing. If you know about numerology and you want to do a complete name overhaul, you can actually set yourself up for what you want to be and like more harmony within like relation to your wife or your kids. You can actually create certain energy streams that can really, really support you. I'm telling you, it's pretty fantastical and it's amazing. Okay, so we're talking about names a lot, but let's see. Kevin asks, that adds some interesting twists to it all. My spiritual path had a different name in my early days. Wow, thank you again. Yes, yes. So, people will understand if you look back and you had a different business name, but let's say you still have the same business or you had a different name or a different nickname in the past, but then, you change things, there's a different energy that you can go back within your own recollection and go, "Oh, I changed when I became this." And some people, they're conscious about their identity change, and some people like really dress differently. Sure, because there's a death and a rebirth happening. But other people, I know that they don't. They're just like, all of a sudden was preferred to be called this when I thought about it, and they don't change anything about their outside appearance, but they notice they're like, I feel different. And when they break it down, they go, oh wow, my life did change. It wasn't drastic, but it changed enough over time where I actually did start to become this way little by little. And it was because the energy enacted. So some people, right, they want a different thing and some people just don't even realize. They're like, "Wow, I did change." And wow, I am different when I call myself this. Mhm. It's very real. Um okay. Someone says, I call him Jose and he gets mad at me. Jessica says, call him Jose when he gets mad at me. But um, we're in, they're in a location where there's a lot of people within the same name as them with the same last name and first name, apparently. Um, yeah, yeah. So it's just like, what identity do you want? What identity do you want? And I can understand that, Jessie Cat. I know within my own family history, my maiden name is Swedish, and it's Dahlstrom. That's my maiden name, and my family actually picked that name because it was originally Anderson, and Anderson was so prevalent because I think it was like my great great grandfather. Um, they came from Sweden. I'm a mixture of a lot of things, but on my dad's side, part of the bloodline comes from Sweden. And when they came to America, there was so many Andersons that the mail kept getting mixed up, and it just created so much conflict that they're like, "Okay, we're picking a new last name." So that's fascinating because I have it's so back within the generations that I have no stories or connection with how it affected them. I just know of that. Um, I find it very interesting. But yeah, pick a different last name. Like, you should feel good about who you are. You should want to say your name and feel like it matches you. Um our name that we're given sometimes feels like a serial number or an ID. Some of the the newer generations will be like, "Oh yeah, which name do you want? My preferred name or my government name?" And it's kind of funny, but it illustrates how people don't feel connected to the identity that they came into the world as by what they were told to be. So, you get to choose, um, and why not change your name? Why not? It showcases an evolution, a transformation, and some people actually make peace with their name. As long as you're putting attention on something, you can heal it. If you are like, "Oh, I don't like it, but whatever," like, "I'm not gonna overthink it," well, it might still plague you. But if you put attention on it to either change it or to just think about, like, why does this bother me? You might be able to heal it to a point where you're actually okay with it again. It just depends on what it represents to you. Okay, let's go into cycles. So, with cycles, very, very important. Um, we talked earlier about there's different types of cycles and how to get your yearly personal cycle because everyone has a different yearly personal cycle. You take the world year, which is a 7. We talked about that earlier, plus um, the person's attitude number, and everyone has a different attitude number. And that's how you would get your your yearly cycle. Okay? That's how to get your yearly cycle. And when you have your yearly cycle, you understand the archetype of that year. Very, very important, powerful knowledge, and very simple. The names are complex. Something from your birthday, like as a cycle number, very easy to work with, very powerful. Getting some water in my system. So let's talk about cycle numbers. We talked about the life path and we talked about just vibrations in general, kind of on the first episode. But let's talk about cycle numbers for this episode. Cycle numbers, starting with 1. When you are in a cycle of 1, again, the entire year is going to have a theme for you of I feel more motivated. I feel like I'm ready to enact the new parts of myself. So in the previous year, you will be a 9 because everyone has a different cycle number, but however it goes, it progresses forward. So, you might start with a 1. Next year, you're guaranteed to have a 2 and a 3, and so on and so forth. Everyone starts, at a different place within their cycle, but it's sequential. with how it progresses. Okay. So if you're in a cycle of 1, the previous year is a 9 because it's always 1 through 9. You're always dealing with concepts of 1 through 9 within numerology, within Western Pythagorean numerology. And so the previous year of the 9, you go, okay, I'm shedding what I don't need. I'm letting go. I'm ready to become. But you will find you're still kind of coming to odds with things. With the 1, the clouds part and you go, okay, I'm able to do it now. Maybe it's still hard, but I'm able to do actually certain things where I go, I'm here now. And you have this fire and you have this motivation that keeps you somewhat on course. Whether it's easy or if it's difficult, you find yourself coming back to it. And it's like you kind of can't shake who you are, or you can't shake thinking about how I should be doing this. It does feel like it's a good idea. Okay. So there's this surge of energy, and you're much more creative within the mental realm of what you can become. And things are very easy in the physical realm to get off the ground once you've made the decision. To make the decision sometimes is a little bit difficult because you're still coming into your new identity and you will be tested a little bit. Okay. But once you go forward, things really hit off the ground. Within a 1, you do find yourself being more focused on you. It's not a year of family as much. It's not a year of even relationship as much. It's like, what can I do to make sure I'm in good standing for myself to start working with the rest of it? Okay. Within a cycle of 2, because we're going to be hitting all the numbers, within that cycle of 2, you are going to be dealing with a lot of emotions and sensitivities and unearthing parts of yourself that you have overlooked or not had enough time to sit with. You're going to feel things so much more intensely that you're forced to feel them. So again, it brings you down to your knees, or you have more truth in what you're going after because you're like, I feel it. I just feel it. So it can be very positive and very overwhelming or challenging. Okay. Within 2s, because 2 is all about another, you and another. You can find yourself meeting kindred spirits. So new friendships, new relationships, new animals. So others come into your life to redefine how you love. So you will actually be more open, and life will actually send you souls to help you work through concepts of love and to really evaluate how open you are within your own life to give and receive it. So again, very emotional time. It can be a very beautiful time where people get into a lot of relationships around these times, or reignite their heart. So it's usually hopeful, honestly. With any cycle, depending on what a person's going through or what's in their chart, it will indicate if that cycle is easy or difficult for them. So, for instance, like a 1 might be really hard for somebody, but like it's just what the doctor ordered for another person, where they're going to just make so much money because their chart works in a way where it's a slam dunk. Okay. All right. Cycle 3. Cycle 3 is a year of communications, networking, opportunities. 3 is about others. It's not just about another. It's not so much intimate. It's not so much personal. It's crowd, groups, variety of people. Okay. It's making sure that you can share in a way where things are going back and forth and being bounced off one another, that there are multiple interpersonal dynamics going on, as well as things coming your way where you're kind of forced to share. You're forced to go, okay, I feel like I need more socialization. I feel like I should be doing something else. And so you put yourself out in a community, you put yourself out into a class. You put yourself out into a new environment at work because you will feel more isolated because your energy will be raring to go to socialize. Even if you're not the most social person, it's an expansion number for socialization. 3 is a very social number where you will crave or put yourself in environments where there's other people around. Even if you're just like a researcher or you're going to a conference and you're like, "Well, I wanted to hear someone speak, right? I wanted to do something different." Well, you're going to be around other people who are interested in the same things that you are, and you're just going to very naturally network. You're going to very naturally bump into similar people, and it's just like, "Oh, I'm working on this too," or, "Oh, you're involved with that." And through that, opportunities forge, whether, "Oh, now I know someone in town who, does the same thing I do. I would have never have known. Oh, let me hook you up with my business colleague," or, "Why don't you go do this? That's right down the street. Oh, I didn't know about that resource. Oh, yeah, yeah." So it's sharing information and getting results in the form of people, um, opportunity, or expansion of thought. Okay. So it's a very busy time. Lean into it. You will feel raring to go. If you're not leaning into it, you will feel restless. Okay. So with 4 is a more consistent vibration, and all the cycles have different waves of vibration. Some go very quick and promote a lot of change and a lot of expansion, and others promote like tonifying or strengthening, or like planting the seed and nurturing it and developing it. So all the numbers highlight things where the energy is going to be felt by the person as, "Wow, this year's going so fast," or, "Wow, this year is going dead slow. I am losing my mind." You'll get somewhere in between usually, but the numbers will make you feel like you're on fire or that you're tethered to the earth and your feet are full of mud. Okay. And that will be very indicative in the cycle, and also how your numbers go along with your cycle. So within the 4 energy, it's a vibration where you will be called to learn, okay? You will be called to learn because you are starting to get into a place where you want to consider your identity. You want to consider the ways that you feel supported within life. So it comes back to the mind and how you want to structure your mind. And it also comes back to your home, your daily routines, and what properly supports you. Like, we spend most of our life in our homes, unless you're a very, adventurous or very active and travel focused person. So a lot of people will redefine where they live or start to make plans for moving or changing their home during this time, or learning things to start to go, "How do I shape my mind to be ready for change?" Because 4 is all about planning, and plans start to change and are being reviewed during 4 energy, and they have to be very carefully considered. These are not quick changes, careful considerations. You don't want to have necessarily a lot of growth around 4, because you should be steering your energy in certain places or evaluating your compass. If you make too many changes within a 4 time, you will feel very stressed, and you'll feel accomplished maybe, but you'll be like, "Is this exactly what I wanted? Did I jump into this? Is this exactly what I wanted?" You'll be reevaluating a lot, and you might be course correcting, whether it is right away or within the next year or two. You're like, I knew I needed to jump into this, but did I count for this and that? Okay, so don't rush it. With 5 cycle energy, hello, Jackie. With 5 cycle energy, it ramps up that feeling of, "I need change, I need something different within my life." it ramps up the wanting to move. Moves happen within 4s or 5s usually, the most. Like, it's just classic in someone's chart. If they have a cycle of 4 or 5, they will be changing a job, or they will be changing their home environment. They will be changing something very fundamental with how they operate within their lives. They will be craving the change. They will try to figure out how to make it happen if they can't, if they're financially burdened. Something has to change, because within a 5, it's like you have to evolve. And at this phase within the cycle, it's all about becoming something different than what you were. And you will feel stifled if you don't offer that to yourself. You will feel bored. You will feel just annoyed if there's not enough change. You might feel complacent too, but there's going to be this overwhelming kind of just like, you might snap if you tell yourself, well, this is good. Yeah, this is good. This is nice. I have change other places. I've had too much change. Why would I have more change? You'll find yourself snapping because things are good, maybe good enough, but you need something different. Okay? It's not cutting it anymore. How honest are you with yourself? So a lot of people have those career changes and physical home changes. You'll see it a lot. Okay. Um, then we go into cycle of 6. And when we have cycle of 6, it is changes to do with the family life. Changes to do with the family life. Focus on the family. It's a very let's tend to the base kind of number. Let's tend to what the support system is number. So it deals with very close friendships, family, and how you're emotionally supported. So it does come back to ourselves sometimes if we don't have a strong support system around us, and we go, well, who am I allowing into my life? If you don't have a lot of friends around you, you have to ask yourself, well, what am I allowing into my life that affects my emotions, and how do I feel cared for, and how closely do I let people access me, and is this good for me? So it's a very emotional time where you figure out if you have your needs met on a social level, but it has to be a very, very intimate social level where it's like the people who have access to you, like your mother, your father, your spouse, your children, okay, and how they influence you and if it's good for you. A lot of times, this is when you start to see health imbalances arise within people because they're putting themselves in environments and around people that are not good for them. Or they have loving friends and family, but the way that they are acting with these people are not supportive to their highest good. They're letting the people walk all over them. They're bending over backwards for the people they love, and they're getting squished in the process, and it creates imbalances where they're not listening to their needs. Okay, so it's all about care of others and self-care dynamics and being really truthful to your emotional needs. Then we go into 7. And in cycles of 7, it is a very like either spiritual or reflective period where you're analyzing your own life. So depending on how someone connects to themselves, they might, go, okay, I'm going to go on spiritual retreats. I'm going to go, and meditate more. I'm going to take some spiritual classes, or they will go into um it's time to analyze my life. It's time to not be so distracted by the world around me. I really have to do some hard work, and I'm going to need a lot of alone time to get my head straight. Okay, so it's about developing the self largely and having adequate alone time to not have other influences come in, and to be very truthful with yourself, very truthful with what things mean to you, and to be an investigator of your own life. And you need to have quiet to be able to have those conditions. So it's a very slow time for good reason. Then you go into 8. So 8 is the vibration of truth, and it's a very physical vibration. Okay, it's a very strong vibration to manifest in, the manifestor energy. And so 8 is usually a very interesting year for people because it can swing one of two ways. It's a very difficult year for someone, or it's a very prosperous year. Okay. And for people who have been kind of lying to themselves or not putting in hard work, or, not getting really to the core of what's going on, even though if it is hard, things will implode or explode during 8. You will have catastrophic health conditions or health conditions that destabilize you, where you have to go, whoa, what's going on with my body? I knew that this was kind of going on, but it just got 10 times worse. What is going on? And it's because you were ignoring something. It's because you thought, that can wait. I'm too busy. I have too much stuff to do. That can wait. And it can't wait. It's basically saying, like, we are manifesting, the energies of the universe are manifesting in the 8 vibration what you've been creating and what you have taken on within your own energy. And it magnifies it back at you times, depending on your workload, your output, your belief systems, your feelings. It is the number of justice. So if you've been taking care of yourself and really taking care of yourself within this vibration of 8 is doing the hard work, answering the hard questions, looking yourself in the mirror. Like, again, if you put in that hard work, you have the transformation and you have the abundance. If you kind of have been doing some work, you're gonna get just some abundance. Okay. That's how it goes. It's like what you put in is what you receive. That's the 8. And a lot of times these leftover emotional imbalances really amplify when the 8 cycle hits. So the 6 cycle, the 6, 7, and 8, boom, it goes off into effect. So really look at your emotional health. Really look to yourself. Have I changed in a way where I needed to change? Am I really living a life that's good for me? Okay. Um, a lot of people make money within an 8 if they have their stuff together. It's a great time. Sometimes that 8 is a really great time. And then we're going to go into the 9. So a cycle 9, again, we talked about it a little bit. It's about like endings. Well, 1's about beginnings, 9's about endings. And it's time to release. It's a time to release, let go of. You will feel yourself changing. You will feel yourself longing for something that is different in the capacity of, while you're feeling it, you go, I no longer need to be this person anymore. I no longer need to do these things anymore. I see things from a different perspective. I can do things from a different perspective. It's like you're given an invitation within the 9 to be something different. Now, the 9 deals with family a lot and forgiveness, and the 9 deals with other people a lot. And during that time, you have to manage yourself, where you are looking at yourself and other people from a very elevated, new, or healing lens. So it's a very cathartic time as well. And that takes time before the actual action of the change. So you're met with certain reflections from the past or karma from the past, or sometimes, a lot of times, people pass away, whether it's animals, friends, or family. They will pass away around your cycle 9, because when people are alive, sometimes we don't have the permission or we don't have the comfortability to start again, be something new. The energy around us starts to let go. So we go, okay, right? I'm not bound by this no longer. So it's a time of transformation and healing, but it does go by fast, and it's not a self soul journey. The 9 makes sure that other people or remembrances of other people are very much involved in this new evolvement. Okay. Okay. Aw, Courtney's sweet. She says, "You're so gentle. You'd be a great human mom." Aw, that's really sweet. Well, in whatever capacity, I love to share nurturing energy when I feel like it's needed. And I love to nurture people through numerology and psychic development. Those are my favorite places to nurture people, and healing too. I have a huge heart for healing. I actually do a lot of healings, but you can only focus on so many things with how you market yourself. But that's how I love people a lot. That's how I give them time, appreciation, and consideration and within this work. Okay, so let's take a couple of readings as we get to the end of the hour. Let's take a couple of readings. Um, okay, I got here. Where's my pen? Let's take a drink of water. You're very sweet, Courtney. Thank you. I try to have consideration within my voice, so I appreciate you. They say that we see the qualities that we exhibit in ourselves, the people that share compliments and appreciation to others. It's because they have those capacities and qualities within themselves. So I'm going to mirror that back to you. Okay. So, just a cat, you put down your numbers. And I think you put down your husband's numbers too. Let's see. You want to do his birth date. Okay, so that's November 9th. Okay. Cool. So just do that to just doing the math right, getting the numbers. Nine. Okay, and just double checking the math on this. Yep. Okay. So your husband, yes, your husband is in a cycle of 9. So he's in the energy of becoming into a different phase within his life. So that makes sense why he's maybe a little bit more adamant with, wanting a different name and being a little bit more, specific within that, because he doesn't have to be who he once was prior. That's a huge theme of the 9. The 9 forces us to really, really reevaluate family on a level where we see how we want to be going forward. So we make peace and we forgive our parents, or we forgive past situations that have happened within our childhood. And it gives us a new perspective on how to parent, even like, wow, like I see it clearly now. This memory has a new meaning for me now. And because of that, I'm going forward with a new perspective within life. So there's this mixture of kind of being dazed and confused because things are pulling at you a different way, but also having this silver lining and kind of being more enlightened during this time. And you will find that he is more, if you can understand this at certain times, because the 9's kind of tricky, he is more like energetic this year to like fix things and change things. He might not always have the time for it, but there is a little bit more hustle, if you can understand that. There's less resistance. There's more understanding of, yeah, this is the right thing to do, or I can understand why you would see that. Or more consideration, if you can understand that. So more openness to consideration with some of the things that are asked from him, rather than like, I don't want to do it, or yeah, maybe later. Okay. So the 9 indicates that there's a transformation happening and the energy comes on board with the transformation. So it is a very good time. I do recommend, if you can, whether he wants to or not. But this is a very, very powerful time of creativity and release. So whether it's an artistic project or doing traveling outside the house that gets him into a different state of mind, a different state of kind of doing things, so he can continue to open up new processing and new feelings and new experiences, because that's what you really want to lead you into this, the rest of this year into the next year. It sets you up for, things don't have to be the same. And you do a very positive and supportive way of making that happen with ease. So 9 likes change. 9 likes freedom. 9 likes, it can be anything. Okay. 9 appreciates unpredictability. So continue to facilitate and foster his now more open mindedness this year, with the open mindedness and how you explore the world together. Okay. So, yes, fix things, clean things, clear things. That's really powerful because a lot of times the 9 will do this on an emotional, spiritual level. So, if you can do this on a physical level, oh my gosh, even more powerful. Yeah, that's what's really needed. Additionally, absolutely. Okay. But yeah, the name change thing, I actually think that going forward next year, there's something to it. Just look into it, treat it properly. He is an attitude 2. I think we've talked about this in the past, but as an attitude 2, when you have this placement, you will always just be very, very in tune with other people, whether you like it or not. You need to take care of yourself. You will find yourself overextending. So your husband naturally overextends for other people. He's the peacemaker. It's either he's all in or he's like, checked out. It's either he's all in or he's checked out because he either needs to protect his space or when he's around other people, he really does try to make the best of things. He really does try to listen to people and make people feel appreciated. He really does try. And so it's just making sure he has that proper balance as he continues to go forward within himself where he's not feeling overwhelmed. Because as soon as you feel overwhelmed, you will have to pull back and you can't go forward as much. And we really do want to open up this new energy space for how he's releasing and how, he's becoming more open minded and a little bit more carefree with things. So I hope that makes sense. Continue to bolster and support his feeling at ease rather than the stress and feeling like he needs to back up and that he's not being so active because he feels overwhelmed. Continue to bolster, the things that were mentioned. Okay, so let's see. We're going to take, let's see, one more to close the show. Someone asked, what can I do to help with my financial security? Will it be okay? I think that's what you're saying. Will it be okay or get better, or will it get more worrisome or worse? Okay, and then they give me their numbers. Okay, let's get your numbers with the math. Hold on. Attitude 8. Just making sure I have that. Okay. So, and 7. Okay. So right away, you have a lot of 8s within your chart. And so it would make sense that you are fixated on, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and I want to make sure that I'm, in success and flow and I want to traverse any hardships. 8 is like, what can I do about what's hard? I would like to make money. I would like to be in the good place. And everyone thinks that, but 8s will fixate on it way more than the average person. Financial success and financial security and career excellence is very, very important to 8s. It consumes their life. So you are in a cycle of 6. Okay. So I'm seeing themes within your own chart of you really, really have to take care of yourself. You're an 884. And so anytime someone has a lot of balancer numbers like that, I call them. So those are 2 4s or 8s. You have an 884. It's very, very important that sleeping and food and routine is looked at. Other numbers can get away with it. They can kind of burn the candle at, both ends and still wake up and do stuff in the morning. With 2s, 8s, and 4s, if you do not take care of your nutrition, your sleep, and your anxiety and your nervous system, and you're not in touch with your emotions, it will fry you. Okay, this is very, very important. The 8s, the 2s, and the 4s, they deal with emotions in the body in a way that the other numbers do not utilize in the same way. And so your power, but also your weakness, is in the body and in the emotional spectrum and within the nervous system. Okay. So when people are balanced, when people feel centered, they are able to access their power. Okay. If your body is never centered, you will feel scattered and you will kind of just be catching things on the fly rather than stacking or securing or growing. Okay. So, Tina, with this question, is you really need to focus on your health. This year is a 6 cycle for you. So it all has to do with, like I said, friendships and family and how your emotional needs are met. And so it lets me know that if you're having inconsistencies this year, it means that the way that you are living your life, your support system, is not helping you to have extra energy in tackling whatever you need to tackle. The people that we love that support us, you can't control them, but you should limit your time with them. If you find that they're dragging down your energy or creating complications, you can still be a good family member or even a friendship. If people are, let's say, going through things or pulling at you, you can still always put boundaries in place where you make sure that your energy is protected, that you're being a responsible human being, but you say, hey, this is what I can give you because you're going through something too, or you don't have, let's say, the most respectful or understanding knowledge with how that you're approaching me. Now, you cut the people out of your life you need to cut out, but for sometimes you can't choose your family. For those, you set up new rules. You set up new rules to protect yourself. So I'm seeing, when you're asking me about money, I go, you take care of your health, you take care of your emotions, you take care of your boundaries. You're going to have a zen about you that you might not have ever quite found yourself in a place of, and things are going to get a lot more clear, and you're going to tackle things with a lot more power and ease. Heads up, you are in a 7. So again, it's going to be a quieter, slower time where you really have to look at yourself and what needs to change. And then going into September for you is going to be that next level, that next phase. But slow things down and put up your boundaries, okay? It's about your energy. Sometimes it's about investments. Sometimes it's about being in a better business position, career. Sometimes it's about saying yes to the right opportunity. And other times it's just about health and saying no to things and making sure that you're in a good place within that. And that's what a lot of this is. So with that said, I'm wishing everyone a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for joining me on the Numerology Hour. Thank you. I'm glad that you understand that, Tina and Jessica. I'm reading your comments. Thank you. I'm glad I'm reading your comments. So thank you so much. As always, it's been a pleasure. If you have any numerology questions you'd like to send in, you can always contact me via my website, kellybrickle.com, or on my social media platforms. And we can focus on some of your lovely questions, or we can just dive right down into it because it is so fun live. It's my pleasure to talk with you about vibrations and numbers and to teach you how to do it for yourself. Everybody, please go with love, luck, light, and don't forget to have laughter or live along the way. I will see you on Friday with the reading show for the Psychic Hour. See you then.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio. at WLTKDB.com.